How's it going, everybody? I'm your host, the Carolina Collector. Before I begin, I want to say thank you so much to my viewers, my subscribers, my supporters, friends, family, neighbors, eBay customers. All of you across the board have been absolutely wonderful and amazing. Thanks to all of you, this channel continues to grow, and I deeply appreciate that. If you like what you see and you enjoy the content, I'd appreciate it if you would subscribe to the channel. Smash that like button, comment in the comments section below, and hit the bell to receive notifications. Also, I have an eBay store called the Carolina Collector 001. The link is in the description box of every video and short that I upload here on YouTube, where I'm selling loose sports cards and from time to time various other items. My most recent sales are with these two guys right here. That's the Shohei Ohtani Hot Dog Fractor and a Mookie Betts X Fractor, which I'll be packing up tomorrow. But thank you so much for your support on both eBay and YouTube. Alexa, what time is it?
The time is 1:46 a.m.
So as you can tell, it's pretty late. I'm sure everybody I know here where I live is fast asleep. I went to sleep really early, and please forgive me for this, everybody, as you know, today I drank my ass pretty hard today, and I think if you've been watching the channel, hopefully you can understand why, because of what's been going on with my father back in New York. So I just wanted to update you as to where things are at right now, currently with him. And a huge thank you to my baby sister and my mom who are by his side. I think my brother either has or will be seeing him. I had an opportunity to talk to him just for a little bit on WhatsApp through my sister's phone and my phone. And I'm not going to get into it too much. But, you know, at least I had a chance to say something to him, which is, you know, a little comforting. But at least I had some words with him. The prognosis is not good. Cancer is awful. And like I stated here in one or two of my videos, including a short today, just to keep you up to date, he was diagnosed with bladder cancer. He does have a tumor that's inoperable, which I just found out recently. The cancer is now spread throughout his body and in his bones in particular. He's got kidney damage because of what the previous hospital did, that they discharged him way too early. And he's right now in one of the best trauma hospitals in New York City. And at least he's close to home. He's in Elmhurst Hospital. I grew up in East Elmhurst, or Jackson Heights to be specific, but it's literally blocks from where I grew up, where, you know, my mother and father reside in New York City. So the cancer pretty much is doing what cancer does. And he was diagnosed with the beginnings of dementia. And that much was clear when I spoke to him. And again, certain things I'm going to keep behind the camera, you know, due to the nature of my conversations with my family. I want to respect their wishes. I'm not going to put photos or video or anything like that with him, you know, except for, you know, talking about this, I guess. You know, bear with me, guys, because I'm all over the place here. There's just a lot to talk about. So my family and myself, I think we universally agree, because my father has made it quite clear, while he was able to make it clear, that he wants it to stop. He's done being treated. He's done being tested. That's it. And now my family are discussing hospice options. And if you know what hospice is, he just wants to be comfortable. Cancer is evil, man. You know, my grandmother unfortunately died of colon cancer many years ago. And we didn't even know it. My dad probably knew it, or maybe he suspected it. But, you know, it was shocking when she died. She was like the center of our entire family, Grandma Phyllis, you know. My dad is the last of his lineage, of his family. And then, of course, being the firstborn son, that falls on my shoulders. And I've already had, well, my brother, unfortunately, my younger brother, he's the middle child, and he was extremely emotional. I'll leave it at that. Again, certain conversations and certain things have to stay close to the chest. I'm not going to divulge everything, but we're discussing, like I said, we're discussing hospice options for him. And there's not much that can be done at this point. Hopefully tomorrow I have a chance to video chat with him again. At least I got to do that. It's very difficult. Cancer is just awful, man. It's probably the worst disease that can ravage the human body. And man, did it do a number to my father. I almost didn't recognize him when I spoke to him on WhatsApp. Excuse me. But again, East Elmhurst, or Elmhurst Hospital, I should say, excuse me, has one of the, if not the best trauma units in all of New York City. So I just don't understand where the hospital that he was in, why they discharged him. I have no idea. Now we're talking about lawsuits and all this crazy stuff, and it's just like, man, there's so much going on in my personal life that it's, you know, and you know, with this thing with the woman I was dating, man, she picked a hell of a time to fuck with my life, you know. Just when I need to have somebody close to me right now, that this woman clearly has no cares in the world, couldn't care less. And I know she's watching my videos. She couldn't care less. But that's how the human race works sometimes, you know. When you're down on your luck, you'll know who your real friends and family are. And thank God for me that at least here where I live, you know, I was with, you know, one of my neighbors who's a pretty feisty old man, you know, and sometimes when he does a couple top-ups, he gets a little too feisty even for me. So, you know, I kind of made a discreet exit, and one of my closest friends that lives here on the property came over and spent some time. But I was already, you know, and please forgive me, I was already shit-faced. Like, I drank a lot today. I mean, I'm wearing like a super tight soccer jersey, and I'm looking at my belly. I'm like, oh my God, you know, I haven't seen my belly like that in a while, but you know, that's how it is when you drink that much beer. Hopefully, I'll be able to get that back down again. You know, I've been floating around 200 pounds these days, and I like to keep it like that. It's just, you know, I hope none of you can hold that against me for trying to just escape and vent with all of this. But he came here and he was so nice and so gracious to hear me vent, and I broke down and cried. And you know, this is one of those times where, you know, we live one life on this planet. We have one chance. True criminals like rapists, murderers, thieves, drug pushers, human traffickers, they throw their lives away. And human beings really don't appreciate how precious life can be. You know, my old man, his life, you know, again, not to get into certain details, because again, that has to stay close to the chest. But my old man had a very tragic life for the most part. A lot of things that happened with him, he didn't ask for. Like, you know, I mentioned my grandfather here on the channel, you know, military veteran, fought in World War II. I was named after him. My father's younger brother died when he was a little kid, so he didn't know his younger brother all that well. Would have been Uncle Thomas, by the way. Then his dad dies in a freak accident in Pennsylvania, so he really didn't know his father. My Uncle Jack was killed in an accident shortly before I was born. My Uncle Robert passed. My grandmother passed, his mom. All of his family is almost completely gone extinct. He's the last of his family line. And then after that, it falls on me to carry on the name, I guess, as the oldest son in his family line by tradition. I mean, I'm not much of a, even though I wear pagan symbology, there's still certain things I respect about my heritage, and as the oldest son, it's up to me to carry on the family name. But, that he really tried throughout his life as best he can. Let me tell you guys, I know what I want to say, and I just don't want to drag this on more than I have to. Life is too precious. Life is just way too precious. It could be gone just like that, and we waste our time, with nonsense and bullshit, rioting in the streets, fighting with each other because we can't agree on our ideologies and politics. People are wasting their life away doing drugs. They throw their lives away in revenge killings, and people can't control their emotions, so they do all this stupid stuff, and they throw their lives away, and they end up locked in a cage for the rest of their lives. Life is just way, way too short and way too precious to squander what we've been given by the Almighty. And he tried. He did the best he could with what he had. He wasn't raised with his dad, so in a lot of ways he didn't have certain parental skills. But he broke his ass. He used to come home and lay out money on the table like this, boom, 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 because he was in plumbing like I was. He got me into the business. But when he lost his job, when the big layoffs came in the late 80s to early 90s, I mean, he completely fell apart. And that's when him and I were at odds. And he did take a lot of it out on me, unfortunately. But, over time, him and I had certain conversations, which I'm not going to divulge, but suffice it to say, man, forgive and forget. Forgive and forget. Going through what I've gone through in my life and what I still yet to experience and go through, I understand now more than ever why, he did what he did. I mean, he never hit us or spanked us or anything like that. He was very vocal and loud, but, some of the things that he did, I now understand because I've gone through not all of it, but some of what he went through myself. And when you go through things that are out of your hands and out of control, and I really don't care what internet trolls say, this is not narcissism, this is a fact, that sometimes you are a victim of your environment. That he tried to do the best he could with what he had. I mean, that man used to clean bars just to make a little extra money to feed us and keep a roof over our heads. I mean, he used to fight to get, at that time, food stamps. I went with him to Long Island City at that time, to get the book of food stamps so at least we can eat. He tried everything to survive. He fought long and hard. And then he got me into the business. And that was one of his favorite things to talk about was plumbing. I mean, I'm out of the business since March 31st, 2011. So, a lot of the stuff I see here on YouTube, and even with my buddy who's a private contractor, the plumbing industry has changed so much. Like, I don't even recognize it anymore. Even with some of the stuff I see here on YouTube, with certain plumbing applications, I'm completely alien to all this new tech that goes in and all this new plumbing, all these new plumbing techniques and materials and stuff. I'd be lost if I were to get back in the field. But he used to love talking about plumbing. That was what he was. and he had to retire because his body was too ravaged physically. Like with me, I got 3 discs in my back that are all messed up because of, the heavy lifting. You're on your knees, you're laying on your back, you're laying on your stomach. You have to carry materials and tools. Construction in general is really, really rough on your body. And after a while, it took its toll. And then finally, when he was forced to retire, he started going on that downhill slide again emotionally. Because that's what he was. He was good at it. My dad literally helped build New York City, just like I did when I was in the trade. And to see him wither away like this, when I saw him on camera, when I was talking to him, you start to realize, life is just way, way, way too precious and too short to hold a grudge and things like that. I'm glad I made peace with my dad, because the last time I spoke to him when he was still coherent was back, I think, in October or November, around the holiday season. We talked, and then all of a sudden, I lost contact with him. And then finally it was my mother that reached out to me, over the past several weeks, and she finally caved and told me what was going on with him. And I already suspected, again, with certain conversations I'm not going to divulge here for the sake of privacy of my family, but I already had an idea of what was happening with him. And he would talk about it openly with me. So at this point, there's not much that really can be done. The only thing, I can do is, when my family is there, at least I can talk to him on WhatsApp via video call when either my sister or my mother's there. I'm glad I had a chance to do that just for a little bit. But after the conversation ended, man, I just started tanking down more and more beer because I couldn't handle it. And I had a emotional breakdown here with one of my closest and dearest friends, who I'm very, very proud to say is, he's family to me, Then I slept it off. I jumped out of my sleep like around 11:30 tonight, and I've been up since, so I can see I'm going to be up all night. There's really not much to say at this point. The only thing I can do is, when my family calls me or when I call them, obviously certain discussions are being had right now, which again, I'm not at liberty to divulge. But, we're all kind of preparing for the worst. So I'm very proud of my little sister. She's been handling this very well. I had a really good discussion with her about certain stuff. I'm proud of her. I mean, I practically helped to raise her, I wasn't exactly a perfect big brother. I'm not going to pretend or lie to any of you. Same goes for my brother, my younger brother. I wasn't exactly the greatest, older brother to my smaller brother. When I was a kid, I kind of bullied him a little bit. But, as adults, you look past, you should be looking past that sort of thing, especially now when there's tough times within the family, it gets really, really personal. Obviously I've been living down here now for the better of 8 years since I left New York. And eventually, I'm going to have to go up there. I'm just waiting, for certain things to fall into place. And, I need further discussions with my family in the meantime. But as long as I'm able to maintain contact with him through my sister or my mother via video chat, at least I've got that. Excuse me. But cancer, man. Cancer is just awful. Yeah, when my mother read off the laundry list of things that my old man's got, I almost couldn't believe it. The dementia thing I kind of knew already because, he would be talking with me on the phone again, Not going to divulge the nature of my conversations, but he would go off on tangents and he'd forget what he said 5 minutes ago and repeating himself. And those are pretty much the hallmark signs that somebody either has Alzheimer's or dementia, Lewy body dementia. So that really wasn't a secret to me. I kind of deduced that on my own. But everything else, like I already knew he had health issues, but a lot of that was kept from me. And again, I can't blame my family because, it's not an easy thing. And when my mother finally called me about certain issues and certain topics, concerning him, most of it I was able to deduce, but, all this other stuff, I was like, oh my God, like, wow. And she sent me a bunch of photos of him in the hospital. And again, like I said, I was able to video chat with him a little bit. There are going to be some really rough times ahead. At least I've got this channel to talk about this kind of stuff. I'm looking at all the sports cards in front of me, and Transformers and He-Man and, all this other stuff that I got over there on my shelf, my collector's shelf. At least I've got things to keep me distracted, and I'm also blessed to have the friends that I got and the neighbors that I got, to be by my side. This is when you really know who's on your side and who's not. Oh, believe me, I learned that lesson years ago. But at least this time around, there are no knives stabbed in my back like what happened in New York years ago. Not going to get into it. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, if you have family members that are dealing with cancer, or if you've lost somebody who's had cancer, my condolences and my best wishes to all of you. It's awful, man. I almost didn't recognize him. They clean shaved him. He had, I usually don't wear a beard and mustache. I grow it out sometimes. I cycle through my facial hair. My brother loves to have, long scruffy beards and stuff like that. And my father had a big, thick, scruffy beard, and they shaved him right down to nothing. He looked like he was 15 years younger when they cut that thing off his face, in the videos that I saw and the video chat today that I had with him. But I'm really trying to hold back here. Because there are things I want to say and I don't want to say them because it would be unethical for me to do so, but it's just, I can't believe it, talking to him. I hope one day our science catches up with our barbarism, and that science can put an end to this thing that literally eats a human brain and eats up the human body like a monster. So, Alexa, what time is it?
The time is 2:09 a.m.
Jeez. I don't know if you can hear in the background. I got my door open, letting that nice, cool air in here. It's so nice. And you can hear somebody. You know what it is? That's that 485 loop that goes around Charlotte that those guys race on. You know what it is? We have 70 mile an hour roads around here, and people take advantage of that. And they'll do like 80 and 90, so I can hear it, especially at nighttime. It's like 485 is right there, as a matter of fact. And them guys, they love racing on that thing. But that's besides the point. If you've had fallouts with your family members, find it in your heart to forgive. You only have one set of parents. If you got brothers and sisters like I got, make up, man. Kiss and make up. Do what it takes. Life can be taken from you just like that. it was something that one of my neighbors here said when I was hanging out with him, sharing a couple beers. He's like, I know you're worried about your dad, but, you could be the first to go. You could be going to the store and get into a car accident. I mean, I'm not trying to, convey paranoia or anything like that. His point that he was trying to make basically was that, you just never know. When it's your time, it's your time. I don't have an exact time frame. It could be weeks, it could be months. I'll speak with my family again tomorrow. Well, technically it is tomorrow. It's after 2 a.m. in the morning if you heard Alexa there. And I'll take it from there. Until then, I'm going to do what I do best, and that's to make content, keep my eBay store running, and just keeping my mind occupied. And, I'll face this thing, as it is presented to me. Say a prayer for my father and people that are like him, that are ravaged with cancer. And again, please forgive me. I think I earned the right to tank down, it was a lot. I probably drank about 12 or 14 of them damn things today, but at least I was here at home and I was surrounded by good people that I consider family. And I'm lucky I've got that at least. I didn't have that in New York. At least to some point I didn't have that in New York. But I have that here, and I'm eternally grateful if you're watching. And that's pretty much it. I'm trying to think of something wise to say, but I'm drawing a blank. So I'm not going to waste any more of your time. But again, thank you so much, everybody that has posted, kind words and things like that. I'm grateful for that. Many of you have posted, your issues with family members or issues with yourself, which I can relate to. And again, like I said, I hope our barbarism, our human behavior, and our human nature catches up with science, or science catches up to us. That somewhere down the pike that we find some sort of cure or treatment for cancer of any kind. It's just hard to believe because he was such a big dude when he was younger. I mean, he was big. And to see him now, it's like, but again, at least I have a pipeline where I can talk to him. It's hard when you're this far away from somebody. But I'll get to that fork in the road in due time, so. Anyway, everybody, that's pretty much it. I really don't know what else to say. I'm grasping at straws right now, and got a little bit of a headache. I think deservedly so. It's natural to feel like this, I suppose. I don't know. Right now, I'm just trying to find things to say, so I'm going to end it right here. Thank you, everybody. Say a prayer for my dad. I'll be saying prayers for all of your family members as well. I actually have a crucifix right there above my window here in my home. Got the good book right by my bed. Even though I'm wearing, a symbol of Norse mythology, the Germanic equivalent of Thor is Tyr. So if I wanted to say a prayer to a Norse or Germanic god, those would be the guys I would say it to. But religion is replete within my home. So, take care. God bless. Stay safe. I'm your host, the Carolina Collector. We'll see each other soon.